Well, you join us in the 5th season of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine ahead of race 1 coming up here at Spa-Francorchamps. And after an action-packed morning here, we're about to race around this 7.004 kilometre circuit, 30 minutes plus 1 lap ahead of us here at the Ardennes Forest, the setting of the Formula 1 Belgian Grand Prix. But here it is the setting for round 2 of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Race 1 here, round 2 of this 2025 season. Now, we've got some housekeeping for you all watching from where you are, wherever you are around the globe. First and foremost, George Morgan here, your resident commentator for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine series. This morning, we did have a qualifying session broadcast, but the lap times that were taken through Q1 after the red flag that was brought out after the incident involving the Axel GP car belonging to Sakir Al-Maushari, the barrier was not able to be repaired in time. Therefore, the championship deemed necessary, after many discussions were had and taken place, that indeed the times that were taken from Q1 would all be null and voided. Therefore, they're not forming up this starting grid based on those qualifying results. This is from CT1, Collective Test 1, which means Freddie Slater starts on the front row and on pole position for Prema. Enzo Dellini in second place for RSGP. Jin Nakamura in third, with Matteo De Paulo, last time out's race winner, first winner for Trident as well, in fourth. Evan Gilter then further back in sixth, with fifth, shall I say, with Nikita Bedrin lining up alongside him on the third row. Akshay Bora, seventh, Nandavad Biram in 8th. Then comes Enzo Peugeot in 9th, with Hayu Yamakoshi in 10th. Jack Beaton in 11th place with Rashid Al-Dahiri and all Prema 6th row. Pedro Clero in 17th, with Michael Belov on his return in 14th place. Giovanni Maschio in 15th place. Then further back we have Taito Kato on the same row of the grid in 16th place. 9th row, Kanato Lay lining up alongside Dion Gauda, who is right in the heart of the action, back at Misano, highest placed rookie on race 1 as well. Maceo Capietto lining up in 19th on his return, this time for a first start with CL Motorsport. Ruiki Liu in 20th. Dorian Pan on her return after F1 Academy at Jeddah in 21st. Aditya Kulkarni 22nd. Tim Gerhards then further down as well in 23rd, lining up alongside Yaroslav Vasalo. And then further down, 25th for Eduardo Borgner. Sakir Al-Maushari in 26th, with Arthur Agurta 27th, and Rui Hengye starting from 28th and on the back row of the grid. So now, as we look ahead, obviously at the moment the crowd, spectators watching on as we look to get set for yet more racing here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Another 2 races to bring you across the weekend. At the moment, the championship in the hands of Evan Gilter and also Matteo De Paulo after a first round in an Acci Sport weekend at Misano that led to Matteo De Paulo first and foremost actually breaking his wins duct here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine and managing to plumb together a sensational race 1 victory, bringing Trident their first win in this championship in their history for the first time. Absolutely astonishing scenes after achieving a front row start as well, after a truly remarkable qualifying session that brought him to the top, the young Italian, and it meant so much to him as well, being a resident Italian, to do it at his very own home circuit. Unbelievable stuff indeed. And not only that, Evan Gilter, who took victory in his debut Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine weekend last season back at Hockenheim, a victor back then. Well, he was a victor in the opening round as well at Misano, here this time around too, taking a wonderful victory after achieving a pole position in Q2, and now the stage is set, ready for yet another race. This time Freddie Slater, after a collective test 1 fastest time, that is what's granted him a P1 start. Now, just to talk about free practice a little bit, obviously the 2 collective tests that we did have to commence the weekend, it was a phenomenal effort on part of Freddie Slater to manage to muscle in the 2:11.031 to grant him pole position. Collective test 2 went the way of Nikita Bedrin, who comes in with a lot of speed and also had some great results of his own back at Misano, with a 7th place finish and a 6th place as well. Altogether pulling together 14 points out of the first weekend. And there's a car currently stood at the moment on the grid. That's Enzo Peugeot, recipient of the Rising Car Award, the Pirelli Rising Car Award, the first recipient of that this season as well. Received that after the Misano round, where he was looking for moves left, right and centre. Obviously at Misano, a very difficult circuit to overtake. Bit of a contrast this time around now that we arrive here at Spa. But I have to say, we see many great drivers come to this circuit in bid to flourish their careers, including the likes of Andrea Kimi Antonelli racing at Imola in Formula One this weekend. Obviously a champion of this series back in 2023. And we do wish him well as well in front of his own home crowd. But here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, we also witnessed the return of Dorian Pan, who has been absolutely sensational as well in F1 Academy, recently becoming a winner once again in Jeddah. If you go back 12 months ago, she did exactly the same then, obviously supported by Iron Dames and Mercedes, and lining up for Prema ahead of this first race in her season in this championship for this campaign. Has taken part in various different championships, driving various different cars as well, but back in single-seaters, more importantly, for this season. Here in the Tatus T318 chassis, a 1.8 four-cylinder Renault turbocharged engine, which delivers 270 horsepower at 6,000 RPM. Of course, we're still embracing the Pirelli tyre. This season, a little bit softer in terms of the compound, but the drivers, after speaking to them, haven't really noticed that much of a difference, despite the compound being a little bit softer than before. But each driver having 2 sets of dry weather tyres to take them through each event, so there is a course of management they do have to take to make sure they can get through the entire weekend. Obviously, remember, fresh tyres will, I would imagine, open up tomorrow when we go into race 2. Here at Spa, though, we do get a variance in corner, which is why the drivers have to really be on their toes in terms of management. We also welcome back two former drivers to the fold as well. Of course, CL Motorsport plumbing for experience again after Valerio Rinicella made his home circuit appearance back at Misano for the first race of the season. He had the privilege of welcoming CL Motorsport to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine Grid. This time we welcome Frenchman Matteo Capietto to the championship once more, having previously represented RPM in the past, you might remember. He is, of course, featured in the 24 Hours of Le Mans last year, retired from that race, but has had some moderate success as well in ELMS, in the European Le Mans Series. So comes here with, you know, experience in different cars, but still nonetheless prevalent. Michael Belov, of course, a regular podium sitter in various teams, dating all the way back from 2021. He is 23 years old, one of the more experienced drivers on the grid, looking for a great run this time. But all the cars now lined up here, 28 of them. Take it to the grid. As all 5 lights are lit, they go out and it's pedal to the metal. And it's go, 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 go. And oh my goodness, there's a car stopped on track, and that's Jin Nakamura, who has had a very slow getaway, and he's not alone. Another car installed. It looks like a Santa lock further back as well. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same issue Tim Gerhards is having, like he had from Misano, but Nakamura back into the gravel as well. But that has not deterred Freddie Slater at the front end of the order. He leads the way here as they now climb up through Rouge and Radion. He's got Enzo Delini for company as well, who's going to look to try and strip him down. Also, not to mention further back, Matteo De Parlo, who has now crept into P3 after Nakamura's issue right at the get-go here as they now fly up through towards Lake Com. Matteo De Parlo now looking to the inside. It's Enzo Delini though with the lead, and he's taking it away from young Freddie Slater, and it's De Parlo holding in third. Gilter, the protagonists from last round of Misano, are back again in the thick end of it all, in the higher echelons of this classification once again. And also Akshay Bora into 6th place. We've got Yamakoshi down in 7th. Biren Bhakti a steady start with Rashid Al Dahiri inside that top 10, met with teammate Jack Beaton as well as they now hustle coming through out of Jackie Expen. But a brilliant start from Enzo Delini, who has been absolutely rapid through the course of this weekend, steadily improving through the Misano round, as the clock now strikes with 28 minutes and of course 30 or so to go, as they now race down through towards the La Fagnes chicane. There is car 20 as well, belonging to Michael Belov on his return to the series, as they now beckon their way down through towards Campus and Stavolo once again. It's Enzo Delini who leads the charge. Brilliant start to his race after starting on the front row alongside Slater, getting the move done, heading up the Kemmel Straight. That will, of course, be a feature, I'm sure, right through the course of this race. There's Giovanni Maschio, also in the tail as well. Just looking to move his way through this order. We've got the CL Motorsport car. There's another one. Oh, no! That's the number 9 of Matteo Capietto, currently beached into the gravel, and the safety car is out. The safety car has indeed come out. I can tell you The Matteo Campietto is off just before turn 15, coming through Campos and Stavolo in towards Corbeil Paul Frere. And we mentioned about his recent times in European Le Mans Series, of course, coming back into single-seater racing with the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine once again, but it's dismay for Campietto on this occasion. The car stuck in the gravel. Let's take a look at this once more, just cruising off. It all happened way before coming into the Le Fanier chicane. So it was even before Campos and Stavolo. I was looking at it on my track map and it was showing his transponder just coming out of turn 14, but in actuality, the off occurred coming through out of turn 12, or in towards turn 12, coming out of turn 13, heading into the gravel. So a slightly different portion out on track, still almost in the same sector or segment, but a very unfortunate moment for CL Motorsport, who David and Jack Lee have come into this series with, obviously very well aware that they are the new boys on the block, but coming through out of the realms of F4, and now coming here to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. They've held a great deal of excitement of coming into this series and building it from Desano Del Garda in 2022. Jack and David Lee, who I'm sure will be a little bit disappointed that they've lost a car, at least at this point in time. But they do still have Michael Belov out on track at the moment, who is still out there on circuit, currently occupying P13 as it stands. But Enzo Dellini will now hold the lead, albeit for now. Still a long way to go in the race. Freddie Slater in second place with Matteo De Palo down in third. Evan Giltert with also a reasonable start as well. But nothing disrupting really the top end of things. Akshay Bora as well inside this top six. He started 7th on the grid, Akshay Bora, so has jumped up one place thus far. As we now watch as Akshay Bora now makes his way through the Le Fanier chicane this time around, obviously on a slow run, just in behind the Alpine pace car. But Dellini, who comes in off the back of a successful run into this championship, obviously took part in it last season. In 2024, also took part in the Macau Grand Prix, finishing 4th. Also the Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship, finishing 5th in that series, with a victory and 3 podiums to boot. F4 UAE was also on his catalogue of programs for last season, and even prior to that was a Spanish F4 rookie champion. That was back in 2023, making his debut that year in single-seaters. 4th overall in that series, like I said, with 2 wins, 10 podiums. Hailing all the way from Shanghai in China, but adopts the French nationality as well. But has done a great job of getting to the front end and dispatching Freddie Slater right at the very get-go, heading up through the long straight at Kemmel, where obviously push to pass is absolutely prevalent and opens great windows of opportunity. And RSGP, who have produced vastly talented young drivers that have since moved onwards and have taken part. We alluded to Gabriel Bortoleto in the qualifying show earlier on this morning, where of course Gabriel Bortoleto went ahead and took victory back in 2022 in race 2, and now holds a Formula 1 seat after back-to-back F3 and F2 championship wins. Of course, doing remarkably well with Invicta Racing, I should say, in F2. Of course, looked after by Fernando Alonso. And now on alongside Nico Hülkenberg at Kick Sauber, looking to develop his career some more as well. Safety car confirmed in this lap, by the way, folks, so we won't be too long under these conditions. But a really, really good start from all involved up at the highest end of the order. Pedro Clearo currently occupying 10th place too. And speaking of Clearo, started 13th on the grid. So he's managed to really fight his way onwards. Started on the 7th row of the grid, now inside that top 10, and He's already mentioned that he's been looking forward to the Spa weekend, leading the Van Amersfoort racing team. He's got Nandavud Birenbakti for company in front of him. And there's the now sole running CL Motorsport car belonging to Michael Belov, whose history in this series is unbelievable. Now, many of you might remember back in 2021, of course, the season where Gregoire Saucy would go on to win the championship. Michael Belov, representing G4 Racing, would go on to take victory at this circuit many moons ago. Of course, it feels like a long time ago now, but Michael Belov, back in 2021, the first time we came here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, Michael Belov would be its first race winner after Gregoire Saucy started on pole position. It was with G4 Racing at the time. Of course, Belov has since worked with numerous teams in this championship since then, has been a fixture of this championship ever since that year in 2021, making sporadic appearances here, there and everywhere. You can just imagine what he could achieve with a full-time drive in this series. And we look back, obviously, with G4 that year, also racing with JD Motorsports in 2021, but also since then, 2022 with MP Motorsport, registering 2 podiums. And then also 2023 back with G4 Racing. You returned then again in 2024, but this time with Trident taking a podium. As now they make their way around Blanchimont. This time Delaney will effectively be the safety car and get them back underway. Freddie Slater locked in behind, waiting for his chance to pounce. Obviously looking to return the serve on Delaney after Delaney took him, coming up through towards Les Combes. So now they round turn 18 and turn 19 and get back underway. Venturing out now onto the home straight. The green flag gets waved, and it's pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now. And it's Enzo Delaney getting a good restart in behind as well. Freddie Slater heading down in towards turn 1. Matteo De Parlo down in third as well. Evan Gilter in fourth. A little bit of a look again this time around from Michael Belov on the back of Canato Lay as they make their way out of turn 1 at La Source and now look to fly up through Eau Rouge and Radion. A very orderly getaway from every single driver across this grid, as in tandem they will fly uphill. Here comes Delaney, also Slater right at his wheel tracks now with 20 minutes 20 remaining. Pedro Clero also looking to dig a little deeper, trying to lift himself from P10 now as they fly up through towards Les Combes. As they do make their way around, still Slater unable to get the move one and done. Michael Belov on the attack this time again as well, looking to try and get past Canato Lay. Oh my goodness me, that's Pedro Clero and the number 7 and Nandavud Birenbakti into the gravel on the outskirts of Les Combes, heading in towards Melmedi as they peeled through turns 5 and 6. Clero spinning, I think just getting onto the curb just a little bit too much and pivoting his car around. Obviously not a lot of clearance underneath these cars. You do have to be very cautious when you make your way around that part of the circuit because of course it does get quite tight, a pinch point occurs. And Pedro Clero has fallen victim to that and now sees himself around. And credit to Nandavud Birenbakti, whilst of course he did forfeit quite a few places, he did well to avoid the stricken Van Amersfoort car that remained stood at that part of the circuit. It does mean that Jack Beaton has moved up into 9th place. Michael Belov now up inside the top 10. So what a drive again from Michael Belov on his return to the championship. And there is the 22 of Pedro Clero trying to self-right himself out of the gravel. There's going to be a lot of it on the circuit now, but Clero doing a good job to self-right himself, but he is so detached from the pack as it stands, as now we watch them all come through the bus stop chicane and begin yet another lap. Still a long way to go just yet. Freddie Slater on the tail of Enzo Delaney as they come down in towards turn 1 here at La Source. You can see Michael Belov, after profiteering after the moment from Pedro Clero. Let's look at the moments again. Now, we did see some side-by-side action here between Birenbakti and also Clero. They were wheel-to-wheel, a little bit of contact actually, so it wasn't the curb at all. We missed that bit, or just prior coming through. A little bit of contact was made, so it was nothing to do with the curb. It was indeed a little bit of contact between Nandavud Birenbakti and Pedro Clero as they now fly up through towards Les Combes again. Slater looking to the outside, can't quite find the move. We've got some side-by-sides though further back, this time with the 74. This time around of Enzo Peugeot, recipient of the Rising Car Award by Pirelli. Was coming wheel to wheel there that time. Joint with Akshay Bora. So they come out of Rivage this time around, and it looks like, on the face of it, Hayu Yamakoshi has profited from that as well. So Yamakoshi into 7th. Well, moving up from 7th, I should say, moving up into that 5th place with Akshay Bora. In fact, Bora is still in front of him here, so in fact it's Bora who sits in 5th, and now, as we watch them look to duel it out, indeed, it will be Yamakoshi moving up to 7th, and now Bora forfeiting a place again, this time to Enzo Peugeot, as they come through the Lafanier chicane. So Enzo Peugeot moving back ahead of Akshay Bora. Fantastic efforts from all drivers. Enzo Peugeot with a little bit more ground to cover here this time around, as opposed to Misano. Vastly wider at this Spa circuit, plenty of overtaking opportunities. But he took every opportunity, and Misano did. Peugeot is now back comes Bora again, coming through towards Blanchimont, wheel to wheel. As they now race down through towards the bus stop chicane, the better line here in hand for Akshay Bora, and they're towing along as well, the 14 belonging to Rashid El Dahiri, but he's been immediately cut off at this point. Akshay Bora now taking the place back from Enzo Peugeot. But it's still opened up a gap to Yamakoshi, who has now been able to grow that outwards. Holds on to 5th still as Rashid El Dahiri looks at the inside as well. Going through turn 1, side by side between him and Enzo Peugeot as they come out of the source. Unsuccessful this time is Rashid El Dahiri, but he'll have more chances to come, especially with the run uphill incoming as well. Fastest lap for Kanato Lay, a 2:11.829. There's Peugeot, hot on the heels now of Akshay Bora. As they sprint uphill through towards Lake Com. Here comes Freddie Slater, looking for the race lead as well. Once more, it's Enzo Delaney, looks to cut off any chance of the young Prema driver, looking to take the front, and indeed he takes the off-track and back now onto the circuit, but this time with the lead in his hands. But will he have to give that position back as they head down through towards Rivage this time? Indeed, Delaney now up the inside, and Slater is forfeiting it. Forfeits the place. Back to Enzo Delaney. After cutting the escape, coming up through turn 5. Felt he didn't have enough room to commit to the apexes, but gladly delivers the position back to Enzo Delaney. And their scrap will indeed continue. And Matteo De Parla with the best seat in the house, just watching all this unfold. They are clear at the moment with a little gap to Evan Gilter, who in turn has Yamakoshi just 1.5 seconds behind him. Incidentally, that gap has since come down to 1.3 as we're looking at it. Between Gilter and De Parla, I should say. There's that 1.3 gap, still 1.5 between Yamakoshi and Gilter as they fly out of Camus and Stavolo and through Corbeil Paul Frere. Again, this time, Delaney chasing a first win in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. What an occasion to do it here at Spa. To do almost the same as what Gabriel Bortoleto did back in 2022, as now they hustle down into the bus stop chicane. They've had plenty of podiums here, have our race. They didn't have a very successful year last year. Delaney said in an interview to open up the weekend that he was determined to change that. And everyone in the team have very fond memories of prior results before 2024, where they have obtained fantastic podium finishes. Here comes Rashid El Dahiri at the inside of Enzo Peugeot. And a great move from El Dahiri, but Peugeot looking for the switchback as they come out of turn 1 here with 30 minutes and 50 or so to go, plus 1 lap, of course. As they ascend uphill, Rashid El Dahiri confirming his place. Just ahead of Peugeot in that 7th spot, but Peugeot will have every chance of taking it back. He has also got Jack Beaton on the rear of all of this as well, currently in the bottom ends of the top 10 as it stands. As they now fly uphill, Peugeot looking to reply here on Rashid El Dahiri coming up through Lake Com. Indeed, it's still El Dahiri holding on to that 7th place. So now Beaton hovers all over Peugeot's tail. They descend downwards, heading in towards Rivage Corner. Kanato Lay also in the back of this as well, also met with ART driver Taito Kato. So all 3 ARTs currently sat inside the top 11 as it stands. But 2 of them, more importantly, in the points, with Kanato Lay in the minimal points position in 10th place. Looking for a big opportunity here for a big result. RART obviously looking to continue their rampant run thus far, with Gilter providing some astonishing top points finishes back at Misano, with race 2 going very much their way as they race now around the latter sector, coming through sector 3 now, around Blanchimont. Yamakoshi starting to drill into that gap between himself and Gilter. Gilter getting closer to Di Paolo, so that's a top 3 battle now starts to extend to a top 5. Yamakoshi really starting to dig deep. I can tell you that Yamakoshi was the fastest over the last lap, and I think he's going to be registered fastest again coming across the line this time around too. Freddie Slater still in the wheel tracks of Enzo Dellini, had an astonishing Italian F4 campaign, beating the record set in motion by Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and also a former Prema driver, and also Dennis Hauger. In terms of most wins accrued, Slater has registered himself as the most successful driver in that series, now looking to do the same again in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and immediately takes away the lead from Enzo Dellini, and now storms uphill through towards Les Combes. Dellini still in his wheel tracks. He might yet even take it back here at the top of the hill, but can't quite do it. Slater shutting that door in the Prema car that has taken a string of sensational victories at this circuit. Over the last 3 seasons, we have seen Prema take 5 victories in 6 races. And especially in the last 2 seasons, Freddie Slater could be making it 5 in 5 for Prema. With Rafael Camara and Andrea Kimi Antonelli winning in 2023, Camara would go on to win it twice more in 2024. Could Freddie Slater be etching his name in as not only yet another Prema winner, but also the first British driver in the history of this championship since 2021 to win at Spa? It would be a sensational result for Freddie Slater, and he's now starting to build the gap between himself and Enzo Dellini, and will need to if he wants to indeed defend the place here with 10 minutes and 15 plus 1 lap to go. Dion Gauda, once again the highest placed rookie, currently sat in 13th as well, within 0.4 of a second, just outside the 3.5 realm to Michael Belov in 12th. Belov having a wonderful return though, you must consider that, and CL Motorsport having a car this high up, I'm sure we'll take a lot of positives from this. Definitely a lot of good data to read, despite losing Matteo Capietto earlier on in the race that led to the safety car. So now we watch them sprint down through towards turn 1 yet again more movements, this time involving Enzo Peugeot once more, with Taito Kato looking to his outside. Michael Belov back in a fight of his own with Dion Gauda, as we mentioned earlier, the highest placed rookie for Van Amersfoort Racing. As they now exit out of turn 1 at La Source, and now up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, an iconic segment of corners. Enzo Peugeot now under very close scrutiny as Taito Kato, the Honda junior driver. Honda supported, that's for sure, as now we watch a few movements further up as well. Now that looks like the ART of, well, the 95 belonging to Evan Gilter, coming under blow from Yamakoshi, who is looking to take the place, and I think he has done. Obviously that might mean, though, he might have to give the place back, because it got quite contentious, had to take some of the escape, but it's Yamakoshi registered 4th now on our screens in this ongoing battle over that position. Gilter forfeiting it here at this moment. At the moment, it looks like that position is staying put, with Gilter now in 5th place with 8 minutes and 30. Slater looking to register his name into the wins column for the first time this season, and it will mean back-to-back podiums for the young Brit. As they now race down through Campus and Stavelot, very shortly through Corbeil Paul Frere. 8 laps concluded with Slater now at the head of the order. Hayu Yamakoshi incidentally registering the purple first sector on this very lap. Slater holding the fastest lap of the race. Actually managed to achieve it the last lap around with a 2:11.216. No personal best this time around, though, just managing those tyres. Back comes Evan Gilter again on Hayu Yamakoshi. Gilter now back into 4th place. Great move there from Evan Gilter. Was necessary, obviously, to keep Yamakoshi at bay. But this is certainly not the last we have seen from these two. As they come in towards turn 1, a little bit of flashing on the back. I think of Michael Belov as well, with Dion Gauda still committing to trying to overtake. Great race as well from Dorian Pan so far. 18th place out on track. And remember, of course, she's had to certainly fight some way to get to this point. Starting 21st on the grid. She's moved up to a very impressive 18th place. So has fought some positions to get to where she is now, as we now watch as Enzo Dellini comes under pressure from Matteo De Parlo as they now scream through Les Combes. And now once again Evan Gilter holding position. They've invited as well Akshay Bora into this P4 battle, with Yamakoshi the only man stood between them. Also Rashid Al Dahiri getting ever closer as they now head down through Rivage. There's 6 minutes and 40 to go. Coming around, Jackie Expend. Purple first sector this time for Akshay Bora. I can tell you that the incident involving cars 6 and 95 at turn 5, there is no further action, folks at home. So that's involving Hayu Yamakoshi and also the 95 of Evan Gilter. That was the moment where, of course, Yamakoshi took the escape. So the stewards or race control not feeling the need to certainly get involved. And certainly don't have to, because Evan Gilter obviously taking the place back. Later on, he's now in 4th place once more. But with 6 minutes to go, still plenty of question marks to be had. Freddie Slater still with the race lead. Dellini, who has got a very different fight on his hands now. He's 1.1 behind Slater. De Parlo now becomes the threat as they peel through Blanchimont and down through towards the bus stop. And still the fight for P4 rages on with Gilter holding it right now. He's going to put on a big stern defensive test here. If you remember back in Misano in race 1, he had to do exactly that for ART, finishing 2nd after distinct pressure from Rashid Al Dahiri. Well, Al Dahiri is part of this group once more. They've got approximately 2 to 3, well, they'll have around 3 laps remaining, I think, in this race for now. General laps are certainly working at around a 2:11.891. Could be 4 laps, depending on how the timer sits. As now we watch them come up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Slater still leading the way. This is the battle, though, for 4th place, with Gilter at the head of the order, but he's being pursued by Hayu Yamakoshi. Akshay Bora as well in behind now, as Matteo De Parlo goes on the attack over 2nd as well, looking to the outside. Of course, the race winner from Misano last time out, taking the first win that we had in our first race of the championship, and breaking the hoodoo for Trident to finally notch their first win in this series. Freddie Slater now losing a little bit of time, has now seen that gap between himself and Dellini be brought down as the purple first sector lights up here for Matteo De Parlo, who's looking to finish this race very strong indeed. He looks like he is the main threat, at least for now, despite the personal best from Enzo Dellini. It was a 37.513 for Matteo De Parlo inside that first sector. That was very nearly a whole half a second faster than Dellini, despite it being his personal best. So he's really starting to push now, Matteo De Parlo. As they now head downhill through Campus and Stavolo. Corbet, Paul Frere coming up next. Freddie Slater, car number 27, looking to extend Prema's run. And now round in Blanchimont as well once more before they then meet the bus stop chicane. Matteo De Parlo looking to dig ever deeper. Did not go purple in the middle sector, neither was it a personal best. In fact, Dellini was quicker as they head down in towards bus stop. Now on the escape, they will have another chance, though, to meet once more when they head up through towards Les Combes, up the Kemmel Straight. Yamakoshi still pursuing after Evan Gilter as well. The status quo maintaining with Akshay Bora occupying P6 and Rashid Al Dahiri down in 7th. And there's then a bit of a gap to Jack Beaton, who's once again inside the points, with Kanato Lay and Taito Kato in behind. ART now with all 3 cars inside the top 10. So Remarkable visit on their part. As they now fly uphill once more. Slater still with that lead, has developed the gap out once again. It's gone beyond 1 second, is now 1.3. DeParlo, though, becomes the threat and has taken P2 away from Enzo Dellini, the Trident driver, managing to surpass Enzo Dellini. And of course, if he can bring this home at this point, Matteo DeParlo, after finishing first and third back at Misano, could add a second place to that listing, meaning that he would have stood on all 3 positions on the podium in the first 3 races for Trident. But a fantastic overtake, getting it done way before Les Combes. And now looks to give chase to Freddie Slater. And bear in mind, there is still 2 minutes left and a lap to go. And Matteo DeParlo was indeed purple in that first sector. There is more to be had here. It is not over just yet. Freddie Slater, I'm sure, getting the word from his Prema team. The Matteo DeParlo is starting to push. Can he deny Freddie Slater his first race win this season? A purple first sector of a 37.467 in that first sector on the run up through towards Les Combes. Could yet provide that window of opportunity for Trident. But Freddie Slater was quicker by 0.4 or so a second ahead of DeParlo in that middle sector. That is the crucial point where things get rather technical. Coming out of Pouhon in towards the Lafanier chicane, as they now beckon their way down through towards the final bus stop chicane here through turns 18 and 19. We've got some further movements at the rear, well, should I say the back end of the top 10 as well. Very late on the brakes from Akshay Bora. Huge error, very nearly close to contact as well with the, well, looked to be, I think Hayu Yamakoshi was part of that. And unfortunately for Akshay Bora, he's now dropped behind Rashid Al-Dahiri. Just lost all tread coming through the bus stop chicane, went very deep, tried to recover, but has now since lost his placing, and Bora now dropping to 7th with Al-Dahiri now up to 6th as they now fly up through a Rouge once again. There's Bora, still giving chase after Rashid Al-Dahiri at this moment in time. Once again, Enzo Dellini and Matteo DeParlo are meeting once more with 22 seconds to go. Also Rashid Al-Dahiri getting close to the back of Hayu Yamakoshi as they come up towards Les Combes once again too, but it's Yamakoshi who will hold on to that P5 place. Gilter now starting to break away from them ever so slightly and is now 4.6 away from Enzo Dellini in third as they now dip in towards Rivage. The timer very much ticked to 0, but they still have one final lap before the checkered flag will indeed come out. Black and white car flag has been handed to car 5 for disrespecting track limits. So a warning sent out to Ruiki Liu from Trident to stop his breach of the track limits thus far. So race control stamping in on that. But certainly nothing that will deter what has been going on higher up the order. It's certainly inside this top 10. Freddie Slater now 2.4 seconds up the road ahead of Matteo DeParlo, who's now going to be on full defensive watch against Enzo Dellini, who looks set to obtain his first, well, certainly looks to be on hand in pursuit of achieving a first podium of the season. Got close last time out at Misano, finishing 4th in race 2. Well, the trajectory has been growth for Enzo Dellini since the start of the season. You factor in that P10 finish, it's been a points visit every race thus far. And a first podium to add to that would be special, but he could yet still achieve a P2. And if he's going to do it, it's going to be here and now as we enter the final lap of this race. Freddie Slater by 2.4 seconds, committing himself to the race lead and looking to bring it home and hosed. But the big question mark is who's going to finish second. Matteo DeParlo coming over the crest out of Eau Rouge and Radion, and now up through Kemmel. You just see him there, just utilising that inside line all but briefly. Does Dellini have anything left to challenge as they fly uphill? Evan Gilter coming under pressure now once again from Hayu Yamakoshi as they go wheel to wheel coming up through towards Les Combes. Who's going to have this one? It looks like Gilter is going to do enough to hang on this time around. Yamakoshi with not enough to garner a P5, or should I say a P4 visit. Gilter has taken that position back It's fourth place in the hands of Evan Giltaire this time around. And it'll be the first time that he has finished outside of the podium places, Evan Giltaire. But the highest finish he could muster outside of that top three. And every point means prizes. Of course, we saw him fighting Freddie Slater in the Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship coming into this very campaign. Did a wonderful job of closing that season out. But it's all about the European sector this time around, especially here at Spa-Francorchamps, an iconic circuit where it means oh so much to drivers to win here. And Prema, with a little star in the making. They have a habit of this. They did it with Kimi Antonelli back in 2023. The train started with Dino Beganovic back in 2022. Rafael Camara followed suit in 2023. Then came Antonelli. Camara then came back and did it because the first time was nice. He thought he'd do it thrice. And for the first time, Freddie Slater marks a British driver winning here at Spa. In the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, Prema continue their devastating run here at this circuit. 5 wins in their last 5 races here at this circuit. It's Matteo De Paolo who will taste all places on the podium in the first 3 races. He has taken a first, third, and now a second, with Enzo Dellini in 3rd place, his first podium of the season. And credit where credit's due to Evan Giltaire, bringing the car home in 4th place. Hayu Yamakoshi in 5th. Great effort from him on his return. Rashid Al-Dahiri in 6th. Akshay Bora in 7th. Jack Beaton finishing in 8th. Kanato Lay in 9th. And Taito Kato bringing home the 3rd points finish for ART. But as they now stand in Parc Fermé, this has been the man that everyone has been talking about. Freddie Slater hops out of the cockpit. It may have taken a little longer than perhaps expected. He came close after achieving pole ahead of race 1, but finally the victory duct has been broken. And Freddie Slater is a winner in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And could this be the uncorking of the bottle for many to come? And Prema absolutely thrilled with that one. I'm sure that will mean a lot to him looking through to the rest of the season. We do, of course, still have one more race to bring you tomorrow. Gets congratulations from Matteo De Paolo as well, who also has put in a truly gallant display to finish in 2nd. Here are the results from race 1 of the weekend. Freddie Slater, your victor for Prema, with Matteo De Paolo in 2nd, Enzo Dellini in 3rd, Evan Giltaire for ART in 4th, Hayu Yamakoshi finishing in 5th, Rashid Al-Dahiri in 6th, with Akshay Bora 7th, Jack Beaton in 8th place, Kanato Lay 9th, Taito Kato in 10th, Enzo Peugeot in 11th, Michael Belov in 12th, Dion Gauda in 13th, Giovanni Maschio in 14th, Nikita Bedrin in 15th place for Santalok Racing. We move down to 16th, Jin Nakamura, who had that nightmare at the very start of the race, did not go to plan at all at the very get-go. He finished in 16th. Nandavad Biram Bhakti in 17th. Ruiki Liu down in 18th place. Welcome back Dorian Pan, who fought up around 4 places to move up into 19th place. Tim Gerhards also having a difficult start, but managed to fight his way through the field, 20th place. Aditya Kolkani down in 21st for Axel. Eduardo Borgner in 22nd. Rui Hengye in 23rd. Yaroslav Vasalo down in 24th. Pedro Clero in 25th. Let's take a look at a replay of the highlights from that astonishing race. So a great jump from Freddie Slater. Drama for Santalok, seemingly seeing a driver topple down through the order, and also Jin Nakamura not getting the best of starts either, but it was all Freddie Slater right at the very start, being met though toe for toe by Enzo Dellini, who would challenge him straight away heading through Les Combes. Matteo De Paolo also lining up in that 3rd spot. We did lose though Maceo Capietto, who beached himself into the gravel trap, making his way through that 2nd sector, which led to the safety car. We then got back underway. Also looking to make places was Capietto's teammate Michael Belov on his return to the series. Contact again, this time for Pedro Clero, after impacting or getting close to Nandavad Biram Bhakti, who also dropped a flood of places. Enzo Dellini would forfeit the race lead later on. Freddie Slater ultimately getting the move done, heading uphill. Dellini, though, would look to try and challenge back on the run-up out of Kemmel through towards Les Combes, was ultimately unsuccessful, and this opened the door to the big battle over second place, where Matteo De Parlo would look around the outside. Was unsuccessful on that occasion, but we then saw Evan Gilter come in under close task with Hayu Yamakoshi. We then saw once more Evan Gilter and Yamakoshi coming together once more, coming through Les Combes. Ultimately, though, Gilter hanging on brilliantly. But for the first time, a Brit wins here at Spa in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and it's 5 wins in the last 5 for Prema Racing as they continue their astonishing wins record. Of course, that victory meaning now that Freddie Slater breaks his wins duct for this season. Came close, ultimately after an astonishing pole position back at Misano to kickstart the season's campaign. But this will mean so much, obviously, especially considering the fact that he had that issue after coming together with Jin Nakamura at the very start of race 1 at Misano. He had a brilliant P2 to finish the Misano round in race 2, finishing behind Evan Gilter on that occasion. But a first win really makes a huge difference. As Enzo Tellini, a brilliant display from him to return to the series this season with R-Race GP, formerly, of course, a driver part of the Red Bull Junior system. And as I said, took part in the championship last year. We'll enjoy that first podium, that's for sure, with Matteo De Parlo tasting all spots on the podium in the first 3 rounds, first, third, and now second, as we now take in the national anthem. So the British national anthem gets rung around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit for the very first time in this series. The third place trophy, though, first and foremost gets delivered to Enzo Tellini. Astonishing display, more to come from this young man, I have no doubt about that. A wonderful young talent from Shanghai, China, the 17-year-old Matteo De Parlo adds yet another trophy to his cabinet, still in pursuit of the championship. That is the goal that he has set in place. But our victor for the first time this season, Freddie Slater, the young 16-year-old, just as a young 16-year-old Andrea Kimi Antonelli did 2 seasons ago, taking victory at this circuit. Prema also celebrating a victory, continuing that record, as I mentioned before. And Dion Gouda, for the second time, the winning rookie for Van Amersfoort, a wonderful young talent that I'm sure is also going to develop in the times to come, as they all stand on the top step of the podium for a group picture. Still a long way to go in this astonishing championship, but a remarkable display from all drivers here taking part here at Spa. But the champagne being delivered, I'm sure they will spray that. But we have one more race to bring you tomorrow. Join us, though, for qualifying tomorrow morning. But from me, George Morgan, it's goodbye.